This is Movies on TV Podcast Industries. We're back at the cinema for The Marvels.
Higher, further, faster, baby.
That's right.
Welcome back, fellow defenders, to Movies on TV Podcast Industries. This time we're talking about The Marvels, the 34th movie in the MCU. I'm one of your hosts, Derek.
Hello there, fellow defenders. I am your other host, John. Yes, welcome to the Movies Podcast and The Marvels.
Yeah. Finally back at the cinema after Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, I think was the last MCU movie, and Ant-Man Quantumania this year.
Yeah, at least for the MCU.
Yes. Yeah. And this time with three major characters, plus Nick Fury, from the MCU. We've got Captain Marvel, Miss Marvel, and Spectrum, I guess, is her legitimate name. But there is a good joke in here about the fact that Monica Rambeau doesn't really have a superhero name.
No, and I love that Kamala Khan is trying to figure out what her name would be.
Of course.
We get lots of suggestions from her throughout the course of the movie. Yeah. This was great. It was great being back to see such like a fun movie, but also just really fast paced, really action packed, no hanging around. And I guess as well, it really felt like that just because, we finished off season 2 of Loki where, that format of TV took a long time to get to sort of the final episode in my mind, with a lot of techno talk and a lot of exposition. So this was really good, a fast-paced movie. And I just loved that it drew in these three characters and their worlds with Monica Rambeau, Carol Danvers and her beef with the Kree, as well as Kamala Khan and her family, and just her youthful exuberance,
Absolutely.
And it was brilliant. It was really good.
Really good fun. We are going to, of course, talk about the movie in spoiler-filled detail. So if you haven't got to see it, we do recommend going and checking it out. It's a great fun time at the movie. Definitely go check it out. It's only an hour and a half. You won't be wasting a huge amount of your time if you don't like it.
Well, that is true. Yes. If you are joining us for this Movies podcast over on TV Podcast Industries and you're new to hearing our dulcet tones, then please head on over to tvpodcastindustries.com, where you can subscribe to any good or evil podcast catcher of your choice. If you like what you hear as well, we have been covering a ton of TV shows over on our multiple feeds, or our main feed as well, such as we've just finished Loki Season 2. We've literally just finished the spin-off of The Boys Gen V. We are covering, at the moment, the bloody comic book superhero animation Invincible. And of course, throughout the year, we have been covering, as Derek said, the other Marvel movies, Quantumania, as well as Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
Absolutely.
And a whole host of other stuff that you can find over on our website.
And, of course, probably quite relevant to this podcast, we also covered Secret Invasion, which was Nick Fury's entry into the MCU TV shows. We've covered Captain Marvel. We've covered every episode of Miss Marvel and, of course, WandaVision. So if you're checking back on the history of these characters that you're watching in this movie, join us for those podcasts as well. So you'll have lots and lots of discussions with us about all those shows.
Yeah, and if you like what you hear, of course, please subscribe and, of course, share the podcast, because sharing the podcast is, of course, sharing the love.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
We are also over on patreon.com/TV Podcast Industries or buymeacoffee.com/TVPI, where you can support us as well over there if you so desire.
And if you want to get in contact with us, you can always email us to feedback@tvpodcastindustries.com. Pop on over to our Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/TV Podcast Industries. Join us there. We always have spoiler posts up for everything that we're covering, but always free to chat about anything that we've been covering as well. So check us out over there as well. Let's get into the podcast about The Marvels, John.
Definitely. Derek, what are some of the movie details?
Well, the movie was directed by Nia DaCosta. Interestingly, and this is probably a bit shocking for anybody who doesn't know her previous work, most recently she was the writer and director for the Candyman reboot in 2021. Well, actually, I think the term is a requel, so it's kind of follows on from the previous movies, but kind of reboots the universe, I guess. It's a really good horror movie, but interesting that that's her previous major credit before coming into this Marvel's movie.
Yeah, good stuff. Moving from horror into action comedy and superhero movies. Good move.
Yeah, and she's also one of the writers on the movie. Nia DaCosta wrote it with Megan McDonnell and Elissa Karasik. Megan wrote 2 episodes of WandaVision, and Elissa Karasik wrote the 2nd episode of Loki Season 1 as well. So they have dipped their toes into the Disney Plus MCU as well. So bringing that knowledge with them to the Marvels, which makes a lot of sense given where we've got a lot of the characters from. Of course, Miss Marvel coming from Disney Plus, and Monica Rambeau mostly seen in WandaVision.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Excellent. John, would you like to give us your synopsis for the Marvels, or would you like to sing it?
I don't know. I think I might speak it. Okay. Despite what we got from the singing planet of Aladna. Mm-hmm. I think I'm bilingual in this case.
Okay, good stuff. Good stuff. Well, I guess, do you want to give us your regular synopsis for the Marvels, John?
Sure. The collapse of the Supreme Intelligence leads to a civil war among the Kree species in their homeworld of Hala. The conflict renders the planet barren as it loses its air, water, and their sun begins to die. Dar-Benn, the new leader of the Kree, retrieves 1/2 of the quantum bands, of which Kamala Khan has the other half. Dar-Benn harnesses the power of the band and pairs it with her staff, the universal weapon, to tear apart a jump point in space, with the aim of stripping the resources required from planets linked to the Annihilator, aka Carol Danvers, to repair her homeworld of Hala. The resulting anomaly is discovered by the Strategic Aerospace, Biophysics and Exolinguistic Response, or S.A.B.E.R. Meanwhile, Nick Fury, now residing at the S.A.B.E.R space station, calls in Carol Danvers and Monica Rambeau to investigate a joint point anomaly near the space station. When Rambeau touches it, she, Danvers and Kamala Khan switch places through teleportation. The switching causes the 3 to fight each other's Kree enemies, leaving the Khan's house destroyed in their wake. As the 3 women return to their original places, Fury and Rambeau visit Kamala Khan on Earth. As Kamala eagerly demonstrates her powers, she switches places with Danvers. The group surmises that the light-based powers of Danvers, Rambeau, and Khan are linked through quantum entanglement, and that they switch places when any of them use their powers at the same time. The 3 join up at a Skrull refugee colony on the planet Tarnax, where talks with the Kree and about resettlement have dissolved. Dar-Benn rips open another jump point, which siphons the atmosphere of Tarnax into Hala to try and restore its air. After a hasty effort to evacuate the colony, Danvers, Rambeau, and Khan form a team informally referred to by Khan as the Marvels. Danvers informs the others of the legend that the quantum bands had been used to create joint point transportation network. The 3 became entangled due to their mutual contact with its energy when Dar-Benn disrupted it, with Dar-Benn's repeated rupturing of jump points causing instability to the network and endangering the universe. Dar-Benn reaches the planet Aladna, where she tears open a joint point to draw the ocean water into Hala. Her final plan is to take the energy of Earth's sun to restore that of Hala. The Marvels fight and subdue Dar-Benn, but she steals Khan's band and uses both bracelets in conjunction to tear open another hole in space. The effort in doing so destroys Dar-Benn and leaves behind an opening into the multiverse. After Khan reclaims the bands, she and Danvers use their combined powers to energize Rambeau, allowing her to close the hole from the other side, but leaving her stranded in the process in the other universe. Danvers flies into Hala's sun and uses her power to restore it. The short-lived team-up with Danvers and Rambeau inspires Khan to seek out other heroes and form a new group, starting with Kate Bishop. In a mid-credit scene, Monica Rambeau awakens in a parallel universe where she is greeted by an alternate version of her mother, Maria, and the mutant Hank McCoy, aka Beast of the X-Men.
Wow, the introduction of the X-Men finally here in the Marvels in the post-credits scene.
Absolutely. That was a nice surprise in the mid-credits scene.
Yeah. And interestingly, Beast still at least voiced by Kelsey Grammer. It looked like a very different body type than he had in the X-Men movies when he appeared before as Beast. But what an interesting choice to have him in there.
Yes, the intellectual Fraser Crane is the Beast.
The intellectual Beast.
Yeah, exactly. I was really surprised that it was Kelsey Grammer voicing it, but really pleased because, gosh, it takes me back to the early noughties with that character coming in, played by Kelsey Grammer.
Yeah, absolutely. And he also references that there is a Charles Xavier here as well. So
absolutely.
Yeah, so hopefully we'll be seeing Charles Xavier back in the X-Men whenever that comes around. But, of course, that is the post-credit scene for the movie. We'll be talking about everything to do with the movie, probably including that again as we get closer to it towards the end of the movie. But what we normally do is pick out our major points from the movie to discuss them, hopefully covering off everything we want to talk about within the Marvels. Let's start out with the whole reason for this movie existing, really, the master plan of Dar-Benn, the new leader of the Kree. So it looks like Dar-Benn has taken over after the AI leader of the Kree was destroyed by Carol Danvers in the first Captain Marvel movie, right?
Yeah.
That was played by Annette Bening, the AI leader.
Yeah, artificial intelligence. Yeah. I'm like, it was kind of interesting, this. I actually, the part I really enjoyed about this was just the fact that Carol Danvers was to the Kree known as the Annihilator, you know, so, and you see it throughout the movie, with her saying, I hate that name.
Yeah.
But a name that for the Kree is absolutely meaningful. So I kind of like that discomfort that was apparent with Carol Danvers by being called that, because we're coming in to this movie not really thinking Carol Danvers as being some kind of anti-hero, but it's just that other perspective. And I thought it was done really well, because in trying to free them to do something good, she ultimately unleashed this civil war, which ripped apart the Kree Empire with, you know, the technology that they have, and seemingly had destroyed their home planet of Hala. And so, you know, you see kind of flashbacks to Carol Danvers coming in and taking out the artificial intelligence, seeing Dar-Benn, you know, being sort of knocked to the ground by Carol Danvers. And you got the sense from Dar-Benn that sort of long-standing resentment, the vengeance here. And to that plan, it's that the different planets where she is trying to restore her planet Hala in terms of a breathable atmosphere, and where she's trying to sort of have the oceans brought back and water returned to Hala, as well as then to fix their dying sun, which is effectively making her planet uninhabitable. She's targeting associations or planets directly, in particular with Earth at the end, that have direct connections to the Annihilator.
Well, every one of them, yeah. I suppose, you know, interestingly, this kind of does feed off Secret Invasion. We learned in that TV show, hopefully you're not spoiling anything if you haven't watched that, but we learned in that TV show that Nick Fury and Carol Danvers had made a promise that they would find a new planet for the Skrull who were living on Earth. Here we have a planet where some of the Skrulls are living, where Carol Danvers has put them. And as the whole story feeds out throughout the whole movie, like, we do get this initially called out as she is the Annihilator, and then the story kind of feeds out across the movie. But we find out that because of what Carol Danvers has done to the Kree homeworld, she feels total responsibility for that. So that is now her new purpose. It's the reason why she hasn't gone back to help save the Skrulls. She has been protecting this planet that has Skrull on it, and that's why Dar-Benn targets that one first, because it does have a direct connection. It's one of the reasons why she targets it first. It has a direct connection to Carol Danvers.
Yeah. And this also has that connection to Secret Invasion, where this is the other grouping of Skrull that weren't on Earth and were trying to form a new community of Skrull on another planet, aided by Carol Danvers, with, I think, Emperor Drogue.
That's
so you see him here with his crown on. And yeah, I really kind of enjoyed just that simplicity of Dar-Benn's role in this movie. I thought it was really good. And I think just, linking into, you know, this history of what Carol Danvers had done, like you absolutely very quickly got, you know, her motivation. And I think that's to the credit of this movie at an hour and a half. It gave you what you needed to know for the movie.
It was very efficient.
Yeah. But it didn't need to do anything else. And it really took me back to, you know, kind of 80s movies that really,
100%. Yeah.
You know, standalone, did their thing, not having to overcomplicate it, or even, you know, sometimes the overcomplication can, you know, link into having to connect these movies with one another, and now to the TV shows on Disney Plus. But this felt connected, but also really standalone and really quick.
Yeah, I do wonder, for people who haven't watched all the TV shows, was it a bit too quick at times? They do gloss over a lot of things, bringing everybody in really quickly. I think it worked really well. It didn't dwell on a lot of things, but as you can see, even from this first point, there's so many connections in here to things that we've seen in Secret Invasion, of course, with Monica Rambeau and the relationship with Carol Danvers, why Carol Danvers didn't come back all those years that Monica Rambeau was growing up without her mother. That's all discussed, which we'll talk about in a second, with the other characters. But they're all in there. It's all in there. It's all available if you want to look for it. But it isn't necessary to enjoy the movie, so they don't dwell too much on it. But I think the reference to an 80s action movie is really accurate. That's exactly what it feels like here. It just moves really fast. It's not dwelling on anything. It's setting up your bad guy here, Dar-Benn, and then it's going to set up the heroes that will take out Dar-Benn. That is the purpose of the movie, and it runs right through it as quickly as it can.
Yeah, and the actor Zoe Ashton, who plays Dar-Benn, linked and is the partner to Loki, Tom Hiddleston.
Yes.
So, yeah, kind of coming off the back of the end of season 2 of Loki.
Yeah. It's a big weekend for them with the finale of Loki and the premiere of the Marvels in one weekend for their household.
Absolutely, but no real kind of connection to Loki season 2 from what I could see. You know, it is primarily through WandaVision with Monica Rambeau, to Miss Marvel with Kamala Khan, and then Carol Danvers to the other movies and so on.
And then a little bit of Secret Invasion.
Exactly.
As we said. Again, you know, it's very difficult to align all these things together. You know, making a movie takes much longer in most senses than making the TV shows, although the Marvel TV shows do take a long time and a lot of money to make as well. But lining them up to make sure that people have seen the shows and the movies in the right order is always a difficulty. So I think they've avoided that quite well here, but it is there. If you want to go back and watch the movies and go back and watch the TV shows that they're connected to, you'll pick up other stuff, particularly within this overarching storyline within Dar-Benn.
Yeah, absolutely. Shall we move on to our second point? Getting the band or bands together again.
Absolutely. Yeah, really, really enjoyed the efficiency with which they bring in each of these characters and the fun how they bring all these characters in. We start out the movie with Kamala Khan, and they're definitely taking references from how she was handled in Miss Marvel. We see Kamala drawing images of herself and Carol Danvers together being besties. You know, this is her dream member of the Avengers, the one that she loves most of all of the Avengers. And we have that animated sequence almost of the two of them being best friends and how their meeting should go together. I thought that was great, and really Iman Vellani once again an absolute showstopper. She's just tearing up the scenery every time she's on screen as this really excitable, really happy, brand new hero who's got her powers, and she's finally getting the notice of people like Nick Fury, people like Carol Danvers, you know? People are finally seeing who she is, and she is so excited to work with them all.
Yeah, I loved it. The energy that she brings is just superb. I mean, I think Iman Vellani is just superb.
She's a treasure.
Like, she really is. Yep. I just think the whole sort of ethos of this character is so well portrayed by her, and just the energy, the buzz, in a sense, almost like youthful naivety as well, you know, and excitement about being involved is just superb. And I just loved how, you know, when she first meets Nick Fury, even is, you know, whatever about Carol Danvers, she's kind of like, are you Nick Fury? You know, and as you say, gradually he sees her pulling her weight, being involved, working with Rambeau and with Carol, and he sees her value. Absolutely. Yeah. You know, just to put it into that kind of, I guess, more objective thing of, you know, Nick Fury, agent of S.A.B.E.R, I guess, and S.H.I.E.L.D. and S.W.O.R.D. and all these different things.
She's never an agent of S.W.O.R.D, I have to say that. He was never involved in S.W.O.R.D.
No, okay, sorry. But equally, I do think that, her family as well has really good billing here. And I absolutely loved having her mum, dad and brother back here as well. Yep. We didn't get to see any of her friends from the TV show.
Yep.
But I think, again, for efficiency, they're just, they're focusing on the family. And again, I love her mother. I just love the motherness of her speaking with Kamala, her daughter. I love the fact that, in one of the fights, you see her mum jumping to protect her husband as well against one of the Kree soldiers that they're fighting. It was just really, really good.
But you can tell how well they worked together during the series. And we said, that while Iman Vellani is absolutely the center of that show, her family and the support and how they're written around her were really important to making the success of Miss Marvel, why it was such a good show. So bringing them in here felt really important to have them still involved in her and her life. As she kind of moves on towards the end of the movie, we do have much more growth for Kamala in this movie as she starts to become more of a superhero, but having them there beside her, still having that relationship with her brother where while he loves her, of course, he's gonna make some jokes at her expense as well. That's great fun. But that opening moment where we have the post-credit scene from Miss Marvel where Carol Danvers suddenly appears in her house and Kamala is thrown into space, replacing Monica Rambeau, and she suddenly appears at the space station in front of Nick Fury.
Floating in space.
Yeah, and suddenly sees Nick Fury and goes, is this a test to get into the Avengers? Oh my God, this is awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I really
and
enjoyed
it's
that.
also the shock of her mom as Carol Danvers comes down the stairs in her house. And it's just like, I just loved all of this. Yeah. I thought it was so well played. And I know we'll get to it a little bit later in this point, but just the whole switching of powers.
Amazing.
Some of the footage was phenomenal. But I loved seeing Kamala and her family here. Again, I actually just felt they brought that heart. And I think so did Monica Rambeau as well in terms of, the baggage that needed to be unpacked with Carol, but also still, that emotional loss, a different emotional beat from Monica Rambeau that was brought here. So really two different kind of emotional beats that were brought together through this partnership, the Marvels being created, this band, I thought was really good. And, importantly around Kamala is that cosmic band that she got from her nana, is the same as the one found by Dar-Benn on that planet and is being used to open up these jump points that we have seen in Guardians of the Galaxy, these hexagonal jump points in order to effectively pull whatever is needed by Hala from one planet to Hala, so that it kind of restocks the atmosphere or the oceans and all that with the water and the air and stuff. So,
and it's a really interesting idea, isn't it? Because we've seen the jump points, as you say, in Guardians of the Galaxy most often. We saw them in Captain Marvel as well, but it's a really interesting idea because effectively she's opening up a hole in them, pulling things through and leaving them open for a long time, whereas in the past we've seen people jump through them and then the jump point closes behind the ship effectively. So this is the damage that she's doing when she's opening up these holes and allowing them to stay open for too long. It's causing these kind of rips in the galaxy. So that's a really interesting idea. You did mention that none of the friends appeared in the movie, but I do like there is a moment where Kamala's in the middle of a fight and goes, "My God, Nakia's mind would be blown if she saw me doing that."
Well,
and Nakia is one of her best friends in the TV show, so she does call it out. So again, having these characters so recently from the Miss Marvel TV show moving into the movies, they probably brought a lot of that along with them, a lot of their ideas and the characterization that they brought to the TV show. And that is still the same house that they had in the TV show. It's not like they moved into a different place. So I love that they kept all of that. So it feels like almost for the first time, this movie is a direct sequel to Miss Marvel. You could watch Miss Marvel and then turn this on directly afterwards to see the continuation of the story.
And I think, like you say, the growth that she has, she really steps up in this partnership and actually is the one trying to kind of bring them together because she can sense the the unresolved issues between Carol and Monica, but equally there's growth for her family who end up on the S.A.B.E.R space station as well. Absolutely. With Nick Fury. Interestingly, that S.A.B.E.R acronym, wow, is it a mouthful? It doesn't quite feel right to me, but nonetheless it is what it is, and I'm sure it's from the comics.
Well, a little callback to the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. TV show when Agent Coulson is telling Grant Ward the acronym for S.H.I.E.L.D. and asks him what it means. And he goes, I think somebody was really trying to spell out the word S.H.I.E.L.D. in the same way somebody was trying to spell out the word S.A.B.E.R here with their words. That's how it worked in Marvel as well. They start out with the name, the acronym, and then add some words that kind of get close to what they are. And that's Monica. That's where she's working now. She had in the past worked for S.W.O.R.D. Back in WandaVision. She's now working out in space with Nick Fury, using her powers to help them develop the space station, improve the space station so that they can track these threats from other galaxies.
Yeah.
This is, I suppose, again, tying in with Secret Invasion. The idea from Nick Fury is that he wasn't able to prevent the attack from Thanos. So the reason why he's out here on this space station is because he's looking for ways to protect the Earth from extraterrestrial threats. So this is his big plan, and now Monica's working with him.
Yeah, and here is where they first spot this anomaly within the jump points, the jump point closest to Earth, and have Monica go out to investigate it ultimately.
Yeah, and I will say, after having watched Captain Marvel recently, we saw it about a couple of weeks ago, I think there is a little emotional moment there when you hear Nick talking to Carol Danvers and he brings in Monica to the conversation, and effectively Carol Danvers is hearing the voice of the adult Monica Rambeau for the first time, because Monica disappeared in the snap, so all that time that Captain Marvel was working with the Avengers on Earth, she wouldn't have been there. Monica was already gone. So this is the first time Carol is connecting with effectively her niece, her best friend's daughter.
And in Captain Marvel, she's just a young girl.
Exactly.
So, this was really good. I like this baggage. It was Monica's, well, where have you been, Carol? And effectively, we find out she's been fighting her own demons, in a sense, out on her own in her spaceship, both in terms of trying to find and help the Skrull that have been displaced by the Kree, but also weighing heavily on it is what she created on Hala with the Kree Civil War.
Yeah.
And she wants to fix all of these things, and until that's done, she feels she needs to be out in space to help both the Kree and the Skrull. She's focused on the Skrull because the Kree, in effect, don't want her help because they see her as the destroyer, the Annihilator. So,
exactly.
I like the fact that there's kind of a guilt here to Carol isolating herself away from Earth and away from Monica.
Yeah. And Monica's going, you never even came back to me after my mama died and I'd returned after the snap. You never even came back to help me during that time. And even when her mother was dying of cancer, we see that there is a moment that Carol came back and was talking to Maria out in the porch when she tells her that the cancer's coming back and it looks like it's terminal. Carol then leaves and doesn't come back. Yeah. So I thought that was quite interesting, that that relationship between the two, and why it is that Carol is not coming back to Earth, because she can't come back with the mantle of Annihilator. She wants to come back as the superhero Carol Danvers to take care of her niece.
She's worried about what Monica will think of her having this name, this Monica from the Krees. It's kind of complicated. And I kind of liked how Carol, in a sense, you feel initially when these three are together, she is detached. Yeah. There is that awkwardness, that tension between Monica and Carol. And Kamala's emotional skills, she completely sees that it's there.
Yeah.
And I like that, because I think Brie Larson does give off that sense of almost a little bit of frostiness at the start.
Yeah.
You feel she just doesn't want any involvement here.
She works alone. She wants to work alone. That's it. She doesn't want to be part of this team, Even when she was a member of the Avengers, it was come in, do my job, get out. It wasn't hang around. There was always that thing with Carol Danvers. So I do like that we have Kamala Khan here constantly trying to impress Carol Danvers, her favorite superhero, trying to be besties with her. We have Monica kind of slipping.
Twinsies,
absolutely. But we have Monica kind of sliding into that parenthood role for Kamala. She seems really protective of her as she's learning how to use these powers between the three of them. It seems like Monica's the one that's trying to make sure that Kamala doesn't get hurt, but they have to keep her safe because she's the one with the band. That's what Dar-Benn wants. But Monica's slipping into that role. Carol's kind of retreating almost until they're all pulled together. The three of them have to work together to learn how to use this new switching power. It took me a while to get what was happening. And again, I think it's a strength of the movie in some ways. It doesn't really tell you what's happening with the switching powers. It allows you to learn it through the characters. I kind of was wondering, every time they use their powers, they're switching, and you're going, oh, well, that means they can't use their powers at all. They're going to have to overcome being a hero without using their powers. But actually, it's just if one uses it at the same exact moment as another one of the three of them uses their powers, then they switch. So they're able to train together to work out how to use them best. The 1, 2, 3, go.
Exactly.
Which is another great joke. Yeah. If we were going to go on 3, why did you say go?
Yeah, exactly. But that was really good, just seeing them trying to sort of understand it and to almost get this automatic sort of response that when they use their powers, they could and more than likely will jump, and they have to be ready to, and they're trying it through catching a tennis ball, but go it and be doing something completely different from what, they could even be facing the wrong way. And I like this, and I thought that whole fight with the Kree and the three of them switching, primarily focused around Kamala's house, but also you have it in the space station with Nick Fury, and you have it on a Kree ship somewhere out in the galaxy. I thought this was just so good. I absolutely loved this, and I mean it's kind of going on for, I would say, a good 5 minutes of time, involving Kamala's family when it's in the family house, involving Nick Fury when it's on the space station. And I really like this because, I mean, there are genuine moments where Kamala has just really met Carol and Monica, yet she's suddenly being transported onto a Kree ship as the powers are being used. And
technically, she hasn't met either of them at all. She just keeps switching with them. There's even just that moment when her parents are telling her Carol Danvers was in the house, and she's going, what do you mean I missed Carol Danvers? Doesn't really understand the switching part at this point. But having watched the 6 episodes of Miss Marvel being placed in this house, it's almost like it's getting trashed in front of your eyes, and you're going, hang on a second, what's happening here with this home that we've spent so much time in? It's absolutely getting destroyed. We have one of the Kree getting thrown up through the floor, through the roof, out of the house by Captain Marvel, and then when she uses her powers again, Ms. Marvel suddenly appears back in there to continue the fight against the Kree. Really enjoyed how that all played out. It led to some good comedy moments as well. I love that the fight all ends with Monica and Carol Danvers in the house with Nick Fury, and Kamala is out in space. So Carol tries to fly off to save her so that she doesn't use her powers, tries to fly off and save her, uses her powers just as Ms. Marvel uses hers, and she's now falling from the sky. And suddenly, Monica Rambeau has to learn how to fly, effectively. Nick Fury telling her, you need to learn how to fly right now or else this kid's going to die.
Exactly.
Loved the idea of bringing that in as the comedy moments and also the action moments, bringing in them using their switching powers. It was fantastic. Really enjoyed it.
Definitely. It was really good.
And just to reference again the 80s movie styling of this, of course, as they learn how to work together through their powers, we do get a great montage. You mentioned the tennis ball as their way of working out how to switch between each other, throwing the tennis ball in the air, switching, and then somebody else catches the ball. Thought that was really good. And then jump rope as they're learning how to switch properly between each of the three of them. Thought that was really good fun, and how it's failing sometimes and eventually starts to work. I thought that was just so well observed. Such a good comedy moment. And I can't imagine how you'd film that. I have no idea how you film that. You just film the whole thing from everybody's perspective and then edit it all together, because you're also bringing in their reactions to actually switching as well. So I don't know how they did it, but it was really good.
It was superb. It was one of the best action sequences I've seen in a long time. For me anyway.
It was so much fun as well. You're so used to seeing action sequences the way they do them in Marvel, punch, punch, lots of money behind it, lots of explosions. This just added so much fun to it, being not knowing exactly who was going to appear to punch the next Kree or to get into the next battle. Yeah.
And there's a lot of fun, underlying this movie as a whole, which is really good. And I think with that, we can move on to our third point, which is the musical party planet.
The minute this started, I knew I was in a comedy movie, a fun comedy movie in Marvel. Comedy action, of course, but this is absolutely telling you what movie you're in. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I have to say, I was a little shocked.
Really?
I had to kind of get used to it. I was like, oh, are they really going here? Mm-hmm. And it was like, they did. They went there. And I'm glad that the king was bilingual so that he could speak, because I just thought, exactly. And I was like going, oh my goodness, this is so off the wall. And I mean, I say that because it's not, because we've seen musical episodes of different shows, like Buffy back in the day, or using puppets or whatever it might be.
Mm-hmm. Like
but it felt like having it in a movie. This was really, really kind of different for Marvel.
Yes,
but I loved it in the end.
Yes, but I will say, I can absolutely see this in James Gunn's Guardians of the Galaxy.
No, exactly. Definitely.
Absolutely. You could see all the characters arriving on a planet where they have to sing, and then the joke being that Groot can only sing I am Groot, or can only say I am Groot, something like that. So it doesn't feel out of place for the MCU. And if you have infinite possibilities, infinite realities, infinite characters, then a musical party planet does sound like something that works really well.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah. No, I ultimately liked it, but I think there was the initial moment. I mean, I love Kamala Khan just sort of dancing through the streets, sort of waving her arms,
that
going
was
like,
so
woo,
good.
Sort of trying to encourage Monica to sort of get into the groove of it.
Yeah.
I loved the thing is like, why are you not singing to Carol Danvers? And she goes, I am.
Yeah, absolutely. And she's princess of this planet, so she's obviously been here a few times.
A Disney princess, no doubt.
Absolutely, finally a Disney princess. But she's been here to this planet multiple times and married the prince here to get him out of some legal entanglements, as she says. I think this was just a lot of fun. And again, being that we enjoyed Miss Marvel so much, they had that amazing dance routine in Miss Marvel, the TV show, where it was her brother getting married. They had the wedding scene. So it doesn't feel out of place for Kamala to be here in the streets dancing along with this awesome parade through the streets. She's really excited by it. She's really enjoying it. It was
really good. I think it's just more from the Monica and the Carol side.
Exactly.
That you're just like going, okay, because, Captain Marvel, the movie, was certainly a serious movie.
Mm-hmm.
Monica in WandaVision, it was serious.
She's a serious character. Yeah, we even hear, when Carol's calling her by her first name, she's like, no, it's Captain Rambeau. She's a serious person at the beginning of this movie. But again, it's the infectiousness of the joy that Kamala Khan brings to the whole movie that infects these characters as well. They do seem to have a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. I also liked, I suppose, the embarrassment of Carol Danvers, that she has to kind of explain to these people why she's bringing them to the planet. They need help from the prince who she's married to, sort of. But it feels like Carol has to kind of fight through that embarrassment in front of these two people of what she's been doing out in space.
Exactly, because ultimately, in terms of the story as well, this is where Dar-Benn is coming to collect water for Hala and to open up another jump point. So they're trying to slow her down. They're trying to get that cosmic band off her, and of course for the Aladnas, I guess that's what you call this race. It's all done in wonderful costumes, amazing costumes, to song, and they're trying to slow down Dar-Benn as Carol, Monica, and Kamala look to enact a plan to try and slow her down, to stop her from opening up another jump point, and to try and get the cosmic band offer.
Absolutely.
So I thought this in the end was really, really good. It actually almost felt like in Thor: Love and Thunder, being at Zeus's big assembly.
Absolutely.
I thought, it was really good fun.
Similar style. Again, the cosmic version of the MCU always seems to lean into the comedy a little bit when they are able to go to different types of planets, right? So so it makes sense here. Another big thing that happens on the planet of Aladdin, though, is we get the movie upgrade for two of the characters' costumes. We get Miss Marvel getting her own costume here, including a scarf that she can use in her attacks.
Yes, I love that. I love that she was good. Like, it was kind of like, when you go around with a tea towel, flicking someone, messing around. It was kind of like she was doing that, and I kind of loved it.
And she's got to go, why do I have this stupid scarf on? Why have an annoying scarf? Use the scarf. Use the scarf, Kamala. Really good. Also, a great gag in there for Monica Rambeau on her new costume, which is the comic book accurate costume, the white and black one with the star in the center of it. And it also has the kind of white, like drapes or like silk that attaches from her hand to her shoulder, which is the comic book accurate one. But basically Monica walks down one set of stairs and goes, I'm getting rid of these, and just rips them off. Which is really good fun.
So good. Yeah.
I think if you can't get through this moment, if you watch this moment and go, oh, where are they going with this movie? You're probably not going to enjoy the rest of the film.
No, I would say so. I mean, I have to say, for a very brief moment, I was like, oh my goodness, what's happening here? Because I just didn't know how much singing was going to be involved here. But it is ultimately a take on Aladdin's world here.
Well, yes, some kind of musical world, absolutely.
Yeah.
And what happens on the planet is they don't actually save them. Do they just leave them behind to die? They take all the water from the planet. It's ultimately
taking their water. At least it's not taking the atmosphere like Dar-Benn did on Tarnax with the Skrull, because then they can't breathe.
They're all going to die.
So it wasn't.
Also, will the Skrull die? Because the Skrull can survive quite a lot. We saw in Secret Invasion they can live in a nuclear zone, effectively.
They can, but I think it was also the fact that the proximity of that jump point seemed to be also bringing the sort of the mountains down on their new home and city that they were starting to build. So whereas here it was simply, it looked more that it was the water just coming off planet. Not to say that they wouldn't be able to survive that for much longer, but
they may be able to evacuate, I guess.
I think it possibly. I think with the atmosphere one, it was almost creating vortices. So you see a number of ships sort of being pulled through as well to Hala, in that moment, because of the proximity of where the jump point is to their, kind of new town where the Skrulls are. Here, it just seemed to be lifting the water because there was still then you have the big confrontation with Dar-Benn, on one of the Kree, ships, and there's the airborne battle as well, as they try to sort of still get the bands off Dar-Benn.
Yeah. So Dar-Benn is successful here.
Yeah.
The traditional mid-movie success where the heroes fail at stopping her in her plan.
Absolutely. She has air and water. She now needs the energy of a sun to kickstart Hala's sun. And of course, I think moving on to our fourth point, because it's linked in with that, she goes to Earth. This is the big sort of, middle finger to Carol Danvers here, because it would ultimately destroy Earth.
Yes.
And with the removal of the sun or the energy of the sun. And so we see her coming here, opening up. So she does manage to open up one of these rips in the jump points, and you see a trail from the sun starting, and there is that slight dimming that starts to happen, and it begins to affect the space station here as well, which leads, I think, to probably one of the best moments in Marvel movie history.
Well, absolutely. We haven't mentioned Goose at all, the Flurkin. I like the introduction of Goose with Kamala when she appears, looks at the cute kitty, and she's like, oh, and then he eats two Kree and deposits them in her home later on.
Basically leads to the big fight through space with all the jumping in Kamala's home. I also love her mum's reaction to the fact that this Flurkin, or cat as she thinks, has just vomited out two fully grown Krees in her house.
Exactly. But Goose is also on the station with Nick Fury and Kamala's family. And seems to be
laying some kind of egg.
Yeah, I definitely got another 80s callback here. This definitely seemed like the Gremlins, right? Yeah, suddenly these balls start to appear across the station.
It looked like brains.
Yeah,
just being deposited everywhere, and all the people on the S.A.B.E.R space station are like, what are these? And then they're like opening up cupboards and there's more of them in there. And then they begin to crack open. We've got some cute flirking kittens that pop out.
They really know their audience. This was definitely right on my wheelhouse. I was like, oh, gorgeous little cute flirkins.
And then you can see why Nia DaCosta was involved in horror. I mean, it's not horror, but it's just kind of a disgusting way of trying to evacuate the space station as, you know, the immediate solar system is being affected by Dar-Benn's plan, and you have to get all the personnel off the S.A.B.E.R space station, which is beginning to sort of break apart. Except there aren't enough sort of life rafts on the space station, and we have, I think, one of the best moments for me ever, where all the cute kittens, the idea is that they should gobble up all the S.A.B.E.R personnel so that they can actually fit in the escape pods.
This just made me laugh so much. Really, really enjoyed it as they're almost stalking their prey, these little flirking kittens walking around, stalking all of them, and you hear the voiceover, similar to Mars Attacks, actually. The voiceover going, don't worry, allow the flirkins to eat you. They are just trying to transport you. They are our friends, you know, as they're eating all these people. I also love that the reactions of the engineers that work on S.A.B.E.R, they're not queuing up in a row to get eaten by the flirkins. They're running and scared.
They're running for their lives. And they're having to be cornered by the flirking kittens. I love that. But it's also then just seeing Nick Fury trying to herd these kittens onto the escape pod.
We are literally herding cats.
It literally is. And then just the fact that when they get back down to Earth, you just hear the and just these technicians and S.A.B.E.R personnel sort of just being vomited onto the grass.
That's so much fun.
It was so good.
Yeah.
I never knew I needed that.
Without
and I did, and it was fantastic.
Yeah. And they did just enough. It wasn't too much. It wasn't. It didn't go on for too long. It went on for just the right amount of time. I guess that's what you do in editing, right? When you're doing this movie or doing the CGI, you kind of go, right, we just have one more flirkin eating another technician. Yeah, just one more.
Well,
just one more.
Exactly. And I mean, ultimately, the serious part of this section of the movie was happening out in space, but you know, with Carol, Monica, Kamala, and trying to stop Dar-Benn, who, you know, they feel as though they have done. You know, it's that kind of classic moment where you think you've gotten through to the bad guy and that they may see the error of their ways, but instead they do a counterattack. You know, they look beaten and down and out, but do a counterattack, and Dar-Benn manages to get Kamala's band here.
Yeah, but I absolutely felt that they were going to have that moment where Dar-Benn was being talked into accepting that Captain Marvel would help her.
Yeah, me too. And I love that I was so wrong with that.
I don't know. It was really good. It was really good. It felt like that's the way they were going to go with this movie. You know, we had lots of CGI battles throughout the movie. It wasn't going to end in a big CGI battle. I thought it was going to be Captain Marvel explains, I don't want to be the Annihilator. Kamala has given me an option here where I can help reignite the sun and then we can save the Kree. And Dar-Benn kind of going, oh yeah, that's a good idea. Right, let's go and do that.
Yeah.
And then she gets the other band and tries to rip Sol out of our galaxy and still send it through to the Kree. Going, oh, okay, so she is a bad guy then.
Yeah, exactly.
She's not willing to accept the discussion and peace talks from Captain Marvel.
Not at all. And goes out to, effectively, it's really, I think, to try and get the whole sun through, or at least to increase the flow of the energy that we do start to see. She goes out, but it's just too much power. I mean, this is the moment where too much power didn't help at all because she wasn't able to control it. Now, interestingly, though, I didn't fully appreciate that they had, in the moment where she effectively turns to that glass that you see Kamala generate from her single band and her powers, she turns to glass effectively and breaks up.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize that the jump point then had effectively torn through to another universe initially. I thought it had just torn through and had created that extra power to bring the sun, and so they needed to patch it up. Otherwise, the sun and its energy would be transferred to Hala.
Yeah, it seemed like they'd ripped a permanent hole between the two jump points, effectively. This, instead of having this temporary one that's held open by the power that Dar-Benn has, and she could close it behind her because she's used the two of them, it just felt like she'd opened up a permanent hole between the two galaxies. But here we find out it's actually a hole between two universes.
Yes.
Anything else we want to talk about before we move on to those kind of wrap-up scenes afterwards, where we'll talk about the other universe as well in that? Anything else you want to talk about with the battle with Dar-Benn and how it closes out?
No, not from me.
Okay, because the end of this really is Monica having to knit back together that gap between the two universes and her being left on the other side. She gets powered up by the combined power of Captain Marvel and Kamala Khan.
By our powers combined.
Exactly. They're no longer connected the way they were. They're not switching as they use their powers. They're able to combine their powers now in a different way, and they power up Monica so that she's able to knit the universe back together. And she's left on the other side after reconnecting with Captain Marvel. So I guess after this, there's no further Marvel's adventures. The three of them aren't going to be teaming up in the future because Monica's left on the other side of the galaxy.
It is short-lived in that sense, this team up, because Monica has been stranded, as you say, in another universe, and we have Carol sort of taking on board what Monica had said to her, that, you could have tried to use your powers to restart Hala's son.
Yeah.
And, that would have gone some way to reconciling what you had done after destroying the artificial intelligence. And with the loss of Monica to this other universe, because she does sacrifice herself. Carol is trying to get her back into her universe, but she consciously sacrifices herself. So almost in memory of that sacrifice and that loss, she goes to Hala and flies into their sun to use her powers to reignite it. And it seems to work. And comes back to move into the old family home in Louisiana, which we see Kamala and her family helping her move into the house.
Yeah. I have a question.
Go on.
Was Carol intending to give the house to Kamala's family as a replacement for absolutely destroying their home in New Jersey?
But I don't think I did really, because it just wouldn't have made sense for Kamala and her family to be suddenly in the middle of the bayou in Louisiana. I was kind of thinking, but doesn't Monica already have this? So I almost felt it was a little presumptive that Carol could simply move all her stuff in there. It's like, she won't mind. She's in another universe. I probably won't ever see her again, So I thought it was a little cheeky, but
she says she's there waiting for Monica to come home. She's taking care of the house while Monica's gone. So
she's house sitting.
Exactly. But that's what I thought. I wondered whether she was allowing the Khans to live in the house to take care of it while Monica was gone, or maybe while their house was being refurbished. There's a couple of comments from Kamala's brother and from Kamala herself that it's quite quiet out here, isn't it?
Exactly.
It makes it seem like a world away from New Jersey.
Big time. And it is, of course. But I'm guessing that S.A.B.E.R are going to compensate them in some way. Nick Fury will compensate.
I'm sure
the Khan family to rebuild their house,
fix back up their home. Yeah, because you can't take Kamala Khan out of New Jersey, can you?
No, I don't think so.
No. But really interestingly, we also get that comment from her mom where she's telling Kamala, it's time now, but I will never let you go. But I understand that you're now a hero. You have to go off and be able to be a superhero. Yeah. You can't, effectively, you don't have to have a curfew anymore, I guess. You don't have to come back at 10 p.m. anymore. You're a hero. I trust you, but I'll never let you go.
Exactly. And I mean, because at the start, we still have at Kamala saying, "You're doing your homework, aren't you?" While she is doing all the drawing and the sketching in her bedroom. So, again, it is that. I mean, but I don't think we've totally lost her mother being motherly to her not. Because in a sense, she is still at school. So, but she recognizes in the same way that Aunt May did with Peter Parker, watching, that she needs to do this.
But don't they always say one of the big phrases is, once you become a parent, you're always a parent, right?
Exactly.
You can get any other job in the world, but once you're a parent, you're always a parent. So just like her mom, she will always be there. And I hope we will see the Khans back in the future. We said that when we watched the Ms. Marvel TV show, that we hoped that in the Marvels we'd see this family. They actually do play quite a central role in here.
They do.
They're not heroes. They're not doing anything massive, but trying to protect them on the space station is really important. This moment when they're helping Carol move into the house shows that they are also friends of Carol Danvers now. They're all working
to protect
together.
Their home as well, because in that fight you did see a few plush cushions being thrown because they didn't know what else to do.
He certainly did.
It was great having this family in the middle of this action movie. I think that was also, one of the great choices for this movie.
Exactly. And can I just check something? And I know we've only seen this movie once, and you may have the same question as I do, but all of those Flerken babies that were being born from Goose, there's a comment from Kamala's mother that one of them looks like the cushion from her house. So are they being born because Goose ate so much of their furniture, and that's what has allowed him to have these younger Flerkens? Like, what's called? I don't know what's causing it, but it's just the way she calls it out, going, "Hang on a second, that's my couch, and those are my cushions."
I don't know. I mean, I'm really hoping that the Khan family adopts one of the kittens.
Oh, I'm sure.
I would love for that to be the case.
A Flerken on Earth.
Yeah.
I do want to call out one final joke from the Khans as well before we move on to the last point and the wrap up, I suppose, of how it all ends. I do love that moment when they're helping to move Carol's stuff in, and Kamala's mom, Muniba, is saying to her brother, Amir, this would be a great place for you and your wife to move to. This would be perfect. Why don't you get a place out here in the countryside? And he just takes the remote control out of a box and starts trying to mute her with the remote control.
So good.
I don't know why, it just worked really well. The actor who plays Amir, Sagar Sheikh, is a comedian. That's his normal job. He's a comedian and actor. So I remember during Ms. Marvel, they were saying that he does a lot of improv during the scenes, and he's always been a very funny character, so it felt like a little moment of improv from him.
It was great. That was a great moment.
I thought that was really good fun.
I think it's something we've all done to one of our parents, if not both.
Exactly.
How do you turn them off?
Pause, mute. But that kind of wraps up the main film. We do have a point 5, which is our end scene and our mid-credit scene. And actually, I thought you could probably push these, one a mid-credit and one an end-credit scene, because the end of the movie is Kamala Khan living her best life as Nick Fury.
Absolutely.
Going out and contacting Kate Bishop, who we last saw in Hawkeye.
Yeah. I'm really pleased that Kate Bishop has been pulled into the MCU film world from Hawkeye, the TV show.
Yeah.
It was really good, and totally with you. The sense that this was like that first meeting of Nick Fury and Tony Stark was palpable here, with Kamala Khan in the shadows of Kate Bishop's little secret hideaway and HQ for her superhero work, and I really liked how you got also the reference that Ant-Man has a daughter. So
just me and you, but I think we should start a team. There's others out there. Did you know Ant-Man has a daughter?
Exactly. So I like this idea of the building of the Young Avengers here.
Finally, and we've talked about it on the TV shows. If you haven't listened to our podcast about those, they have introduced lots and lots of characters that are members of the Young Avengers. They introduced Wanda's kids, who will eventually become members of the Young Avengers. In She-Hulk, we got the son of Hulk, who also becomes a member of the Young Avengers. Of course, Kate Bishop from the Hawkeye show.
Yeah.
And interestingly, this is another handover from the TV shows to the movies. In the past, we've had the handover from the movies to the TV shows, where we had Yelena Belova from Black Widow being sent to hunt Kate Bishop and the two of them eventually becoming friends. That was how she came into the Hawkeye TV show. So now we're having the handoff from Kate Bishop being pulled into the movies by Kamala Khan here. I just thought it was a lovely ending, really fun ending, and I love how ungraceful, let's say, how Kamala Khan is in her version of Nick Fury when Kate's going to her, how did you find out about me? She goes, from this data pad I have here. Where was that? On my couch.
Exactly. And the top that she was wearing seemed to be way too long in the arms for her or something.
That Kamala was wearing? Yeah. Really?
I don't know. Or maybe I'm just making that up. But for some reason, the silhouette didn't look right.
It didn't.
It looked like she was kind of in a coat that was way too big for her. Like whether she was trying to have some kind of, spy Mac on or whatever.
Did she literally borrow Nick's leather jacket?
But with only having seen the movie once, I'd need to see that again. But I just remember thinking she looks like she's just gotten out of bed or something, rather, it was like, but I mean, I loved the whole scene. Like you say, where did you get that from? From between the sofa. Yeah. The cushions of the sofa. So I really, really enjoyed this, and I'm really excited for Young Avengers as well.
Whenever that may come, that could be again quite a while away. And we don't know whether it'll be a TV show or a movie. I wonder whether it'll be connected into the Thunderbolts. So we have the Thunderbolts on one side and the Young Avengers on the other side.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, it's interesting. We talked about it on our finale podcast for Loki. A lot of the movies from 2024 have been moved out to 2025, including the Captain America movie, the Thunderbolts, all supposed to be in 2024. So there will be a big pause for the major MCU movies. The only Marvel movie coming out next year is Deadpool 3. So there'll be a big pause in connections to these movies and TV shows. So you wonder how they're going to play out. It's going to be quite a while before we see these characters back in anything at all. We've got the Echo TV show. We've got Agatha Coven of Chaos coming next year. We've got potentially Daredevil Born Again coming next year now. That may move out because they've stopped production or restarting production on that. So it's interesting. In the past, we've usually had something that we could say, this post-credit scene or this end-credit scene connects into something we can see in the future. But right now, with so much being pushed out of 2024, don't know when we'll see these characters again. Which is probably the same thing I'd say about the mid-credit scene, where we have Monica Rambeau awakening in the other universe with Beast. We mentioned earlier on Hank McCoy being there in the other universe, played by Kelsey Grammer, talking about the fact there is the Professor Charles Xavier in another room. So this is the X-Men that we know and love in another universe. I guess that's the way they're going to introduce the X-Men. They have been around for many, many years, just not in our universe, in our galaxy. It's a good way to introduce them. And
you have Monica's mum there as Biggie, Binary.
Yes.
Yeah. But not knowing who she is. So
Maria Rambeau is alive in another universe and doesn't know who Monica Rambeau is.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's an interesting one, isn't it?
It is an interesting one. That has all potential manner of implications as to why that may be. In fact, not having the X-Men as well, it has implications for Earth 616, where the main MCU happens, but why did we not have the X-Men? And again, it could all be leading up to the fact that, in a sense here as well, this links to the incursion end credit or post movie scene from Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness.
Yes, it does.
Where we see him and Clay, and she's asking for his help around the incursions. So we have these threads beginning to form and to connect and pull things through. I mean, in particular, with the Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, where we have that post-film scene with Doctor Strange and Clay, who is the daughter of Dormammu, asking for his help to deal with incursions, where this is where you have different universes coming through and joining up with other universes, effectively a destructive process.
It's interesting because, we did talk about earlier on when we were talking about this split that Dar-Benn had created, thinking that when we were watching it first, it was just a permanent split between one part of the galaxy to the other jump points. Actually, what's happening here is she's split into another universe which could cause an incursion, as they're called in the comics, and as you mentioned in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. If an incursion happens, one universe is colliding with another universe, and both will be destroyed, or one will be absorbed by the other. Not always the same every time, but if they come in, they will destroy each other. We saw even one of those in Doctor Strange, the one that had the really evil Doctor Strange on it, was a universe that had an incursion happen on it, and everything had been destroyed apart from Doctor Strange himself. So we've seen incursions before a little bit. They've been talked about before in Doctor Strange, but here we're seeing Monica able to knit the gap between the two universes back together so that the incursion doesn't happen, which is another interesting use of her powers, right?
And I feel that my sort of long-standing theory, certainly after Multiverse of Madness, around incursions, and given that we now have a title for a movie, Avengers Secret Wars, that yes, we will have possibly in Avengers Secret Wars, we will have the introduction of Fantastic Four there, and potentially their big villain, Doctor Doom. But also Secret Wars links to the comic series of the same name, which is all about incursions that ultimately end up with there just being a single universe left.
Because all of those universes are knitted together to make one universe, as the incursions are happening. So the incursions themselves are allowed to happen to destroy other universes, not the 616 or the Ultimate Universe where the Fantastic Four are. That's what's happening, and eventually, as they can't stop all of these happening, they are all knitted together, and that creates this battle world, this one world where loads of different universes are all together. So I hope we explained that well enough that it's not too confusing, but it's interesting that they're referencing all of this stuff, setting lots and lots of stuff up, because in a movie as fast-paced as the Marvels, with lots and lots going on, it's really easy to miss how much is actually being told in Easter eggs and in nods to things that are coming and things that have gone in the past as well.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So very cool.
Excellent. Derek, any notes from this movie to finish us off?
Yes, I wanted to jump back to the joke we'd mentioned earlier on with Kamala trying to give names to Monica Rambeau, because in the comic books, Monica has probably had more titles than anybody else. She has Captain Marvel, and we know she's Captain Rambeau here, so she's almost Captain Marvel. But throughout this kind of game that Kamala Khan is playing during the movie, she does call out some of the names that Monica Rambeau has gone by in the comic books, like Photon and Pulsar and Spectrum, as possible titles for Monica Rambeau to take on. So I do think it's a really good fun Easter eggs that you can have as Kamala's trying to pick up something from the light powers that you could call her, because I presume, given that she's had that many names, that's what the writers have gone through a few times.
Yeah, absolutely. It was really good. Yeah, for sure. The other thing to mention is we do see Valkyrie here as well, who takes King Drogue and the Skrulls to New Asgard, I'm guessing.
A little appearance from Tessa Thompson, the new King of Asgard,
doing a favour for Captain Marvel.
Yeah, absolutely. So quite cool to see Tessa Thompson in here as well.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that's it. I think that's it for our notes and our discussion about the episode. Overall then, John, do you defend the Marvels?
I do. I'd give this 4.5 cute kitty flirking monsters out of 5. I really, really like this film. Just how it made me feel coming out of the cinema. I was like buzzing. It was great fun. It was, had its emotion. It had issues to work through, some fantastic fight scenes. It introduced, munching, flirting kittens as a way of escaping a space station that is rapidly sort of breaking apart, which I never knew I needed.
Absolutely. Do you know how many people would have been saved on the Titanic if they just had flirkins instead of a couple of lifeboats?
Well, no, because then the kittens would have drowned.
No, they've been the lifeboats.
Well, that's true. Yes, of course. Same analogy,
of course.
I loved Aladna in the end. I think that was the bit that I, possibly just needed a little time to sort of relax into. But in the end, that whole sort of fun evading it, coming from Kamala and her her family really pervaded through this and connected with Carol and Monica, even though, like on Aladdin, it was almost their discomfort at what was happening compared to Kamala's sort of joy and joining in with everything that made that really special. I thought the fight sequence where they're all shifting in space and as they use their powers was just absolutely phenomenally good. Really enjoyed that. I think, again, connecting into future movies, new Avengers, and of course X-Men. Really important. Glad to start seeing these threads.
Who would have thought we'd seen it here?
Yeah, exactly.
And in the way we do, another universe.
Another universe. So I really just felt this was a great movie, almost standalone in a sense, even though I'm saying there's all these connections. I just really loved all of the performances. I mean, I think Iman Vellani is absolutely fantastic here. She is so good and brings kind of the heart and soul of this movie, I think.
And with that,
and I mean, so does Carol and Monica, but in different ways. But I think the fun, the lightness was just brought by Kamala Khan and her family, and I'm so glad that her family were interwoven. It feels to me, from having watched Miss Marvel and now this, in some respects, you want to keep that association of the two. It's like there needs to be both Kamala doing her own thing, absolutely, but it always needs to touch base back with her family. It's in the same vein as Spider-Man, and I think that's what makes it so powerful. And it was great to see here. So for me, 4.5 cute Flurkin kitty monsters out of 5.
Fantastic.
Derek, do you defend the Marvels?
I really do, and I'll go a step further than you, John. If this movie didn't have Iman Vellani in it, it would be completely different. And I'm not even sure I would get above the 3 out of 5 for me. I think it goes over 4 and close to 5. It is so much fun. It is really enjoyable. She's not the only thing that's important, but her interplay with all of the other characters and the fun and joy that she brings to the scenes that she's in really give it that extra oomph to make it a really enjoyable night out at the cinema. I haven't laughed this much in the cinema for quite a while. I thought it was really, really enjoyable. There's so many fun sequences. As you say, the Flurkin sequence was really good. The way they've introduced the fighting between the three of them exchanging powers made me almost wish that this was a permanent situation, that we would have always Captain Marvel, Spectrum, and Ms. Marvel able to switch powers across the galaxy every time they use their powers at exactly the same time. They have some kind of synchronization watches that they keep on them at all times, where they go, oh, Kamala's using her powers right now, I can't use them for another 10 seconds, or I can, and we can interchange between each other. I kind of wish that could stay forever, because it worked so well. But then the idea that they are able to support each other, that they're able to combine their powers at the end, one, for Monica to be able to seal that rift between the two universes, and secondly for Captain Marvel to take inspiration from the other two with their powers combined to reignite the sun. So while not technically combining their powers, combining the advice and the support that she's getting from the other two, I thought was a really, really great way to close out this movie. But wow, did it go at a pace. It was just flying by me so quickly, and we were out of the cinema in about an hour and 40 minutes, including ads, and I was shocked. It just seemed to go by so fast, so quickly. But that's what you need sometimes. Yeah. You could have added an extra hour to this movie, explaining all the little details, putting in all the other connections, adding in other characters, spending time sitting down chatting, but they wanted to do this movie fast. They wanted to leave you breathless by the end, and I think they did a great job. I think it was really good fun, a really good action comedy, one like I haven't seen since the 80s. So great fun, excellent stuff. Will we hear what some of our fellow defenders say about the movie, John?
Yes, absolutely. Let us get into our feedback section.
First up, we have an email in from Coffee and Vodka, who says, "Greetings, fellow Lit defenders. Went into this expecting fun, as nothing says fun like a 90-minute runtime, like an 80s callback. And it was linear, simple, understandable, yet detestable villain, character conflict with resolution, a superhero team-up, and almost everything tied in a neat bow in the end. As I'd expected, Kamala made a dude's rug out of herself, really tying the movie together. What I hadn't expected was this more accessible and welcome version of Carol. Nick served the plot well by staying out of the way, and we've got mutants, specifically one long-missed, and for me, best version of everybody's favourite blue beastie. What's not to like? Neither the brightest gem in the MCU gauntlet nor the dimmest, but solid entertainment. The single issue I have with the movie is their non-revisit to the water planet. Is our singing prince ruling over a desert planet now? 4 flocks of full flirkins, bundled bangles, and tossed salads and scrambled eggs out of 5. Peace and take care, coffee and vodka. P.S. Could Secret Invasion, when passed through the filter of this movie with Skrulls and other planets, be considered an alternate timeline adventure? That's an interesting question, Coffee and Vodka. I don't think so. I think Secret Invasion does take place because we had that mention from Talos of Emperor Drogue on the other planet with the other colony of Skrulls, that your options are either you come to Earth or you go to his colony, which we see here. Emperor Drogue is in cooperation with the Kree, so there's a lot of Skrulls that may not want to cooperate with the Kree after the war that's happened, so they would naturally choose to go to Earth. So actually, I think it expands on what happened there with Secret Invasion.
Yeah, definitely. I would say it's in the same timeline for sure.
Yeah.
But as well, Coffee and Vodka, I kind of suspect that our singing prince, yes, he could be ruling over a desert planet, but I think he will go to their highly valued national treasure, which is a lamp, and probably give it a rub in order to get a wish from a genie. We want our oceans back. Maybe. I wish our oceans back.
Maybe, or else it had to be in a constant feed, and now that Carol has sorted out the Kree home world, maybe she stopped that feed before it turned into a desert planet. Like a lot of water would have to travel from an entire planet.
It would, but so, I mean... Yeah. I guess that was still going on. It wasn't instantaneous. So, and to Coffee and Vodka's serious point, at the end of the day, these two time jump kind of holes were not filled back. And I don't know whether it's like, right, ocean is full now in Hala, therefore it closes back up. I think you would need to somehow go and close them back up.
I presume Kamala could do that in a way. She had both bangles, right?
Yeah, presumably with the bangles, maybe. Who knows? But yeah, we don't see that. And I mean, possibly he is on a desert world because it would still be going, but it would take a while.
Let's hope not.
And yeah, I guess that is the thing with quick-paced, short run times, that sometimes not everything is covered off, but it also, in a sense, probably doesn't need to be, I guess. And if not in this movie, it will be done at some other point in time.
Maybe.
If we ever revisit Aladna.
If we ever go back to the dancing, singing planet in the future, that's where they're bringing Kate Bishop. Kamala wants to show her the universe and takes her off to the dancing, singing planet. Maybe that's the way.
For sure. But completely agree with all your other points as well. I just think this was really good sort of entertainment for me.
Yeah, I can definitely see us watching Miss Marvel again and playing this directly afterwards the next time we run through the whole show. Speaking of things that are sometimes missed in the movies, we didn't mention it in the discussion on the episode here, but I did notice at the end of the movie, even though effectively the goal was to get Kamala both bangles, where they took out Dar-Benn and got both bangles back, and she puts the two of them on. From the point that Kamala puts the two of them on to the end of the movie, I don't think you see both of them on her arms. She's back to just one when she's talking with her family again, which I thought was a bit of a surprise.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I think the thing is, though, from Kamala's side, that bangle that she had was from her nana.
Yes.
So there's something special there. And she may feel, I don't need the two. That doesn't, I have these powers. It could be that she has the other cosmic band ready in case she needs to really, further power up. I think the other interesting thing, we do see her go into and get the gigantic hand as well.
Yes, we do.
At this point, to bring back Carol and the bangles after Barden has killed herself and Monica has been lost to the other universe.
Yes.
But that's the only time we see her use her sort of gigantic power by creating a gigantic hand.
Yeah, in the movie here, that was quite cool. It's much more like her powers in the comic book, so good stuff. Over on Facebook, we have a bit of feedback as well, John.
Yes. First up, Philippe Gurgel Florencio says, Marvel needs to put Iman Vellani in all shows, films, headquarters, McDonald's, etc. I've recently rewatched Captain Marvel and I enjoyed it more than when I watched it in 2019. But the main issue of Captain Marvel so far was that she was too tough. Iman's Kamala has such a nice vibe and her charisma is so intense that even Captain Marvel feels charismatic in this one as well. Also, what was that post-credit scene? Has Marvel really hit the, in case of trouble, press this button? As I said in the Loki post, I'm feeling cautiously optimistic. Well, yeah, exactly. I think here, these two post-movie scenes are New Avengers and the X-Men being introduced into the MCU.
Absolutely. We knew the X-Men was coming for a couple of years since Marvel got the rights back from Fox, of course. But I don't think it's an in case of trouble, press this button type of situation for Marvel. It's a great way of introducing the X-Men if you think about it, because then you can have established X-Men already out there. You don't have to start out with everybody as X-Men babies. You know, you can say Wolverine is already 30, 40, 100 years old, like he is in the comics when he joins the X-Men. You don't have to explain why he hasn't appeared throughout the history of the MCU now. You can say those characters, all of the X-Men, exist in another universe, and now you're going to bring the two together, is what I think is going to happen.
And I think the other thing as well, you know, we did kind of say, well, the X-Men are in that universe and not so much in the current one, but in Miss Marvel, we do hear that Kamala is a mutant. That is what is called out. That
she has a mutation.
That she has a mutation.
Yeah.
And it's just really that the X-Men haven't formed potentially because this isn't widely understood in terms of the powers and why they have them. It's been from that traditional superhero, you know, bite of a spider or an experiment gone wrong or what have you. So, you know, actually the hint of mutants has been laid for the MCU with Miss Marvel.
Yes, because as you can see, she is able to use her powers. As you mentioned, the growing of the massive light hand without the bangle, which we thought originally in the first couple of episodes of the show, you thought the bangle were giving her the powers, but actually she has the powers within her as a mutant. So,
So, good stuff, Philippe. Thanks so much for the feedback.
Absolutely.
And finally, yes, Doug Green also says, I loved it. I agree with Philippe. Iman is adorable, charming, and perfect for the part of Kamala.
Yeah, she just softens everything around her and makes it so much fun, doesn't she?
She softens it, she heightens it, she infuses it with fun, like you say. You know, she is just so good here. It's such a casting choice for me, and really it's kind of, you know, it's the alchemy of casting. They've just hit upon a pure nugget of green.
Absolutely, and apparently just so much fun on set. She is just geeking out about Marvel with the director Nia DaCosta. Great fun on set. She had great fun with Brie Larson as well. Apparently Brie Larson was the first person to call her to congratulate her on getting the role of Miss Marvel before anybody else called her from the MCU. It was a call directly from Brie Larson because she's so excited for her to join this world. So Iman Vellani has been great. I can't wait to see her being able to do a bit of press for this movie as well. I know she went out to Times Square at about 2 minutes past midnight when the actors' strike finished, just to go and say hello to everybody that was watching the Marvels in the cinema. So she's as excited as everybody else, but just hasn't been able to talk about it. So I want to see all these guys doing the press tour, being able to talk about them. Did you see some of the press tour for this for the movie, John?
No, I didn't really catch it, to be honest.
Because one of the things I really liked was they were leading into the Flirkins on the press tour. They had the kitten actor who was playing Goose answering questions for the movie. And at the premiere, they also had a kitten cafe live where you could go and play with the kittens.
Oh, very cute.
Well.
The only thing I did see was that this new S.A.B.E.R thing in Vegas had Goose projected onto its surface, which was pretty cute. You had the laser dot that it followed around and sort of an explosion of tentacles being sort of shown on this sphere in Vegas. So I thought that was really good.
So cool. Very cool. Excellent stuff. That's it for our coverage of the Marvels. Thanks so much for those of you who are able to get your feedback in. I hope you enjoyed the Marvels as much as we did, but we have covered loads of other stuff on the podcast in case there's something else that might tickle your fancy as well. We've just finished covering Marvel's Loki Season 2, all 6 parts of that show, finishing off this week. And we'll be back in the multiverse with Marvel's What If Season 2 coming up in December, the animated second season of that show. Really looking forward to seeing what stories they'll cover in the second season of What If. As I mentioned earlier on, there will only be one MCU movie in 2024, Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman coming to the MCU in Deadpool 3, as the rest of the MCU movies have all moved to 2024, including Captain America Brave New World, Blade and the Thunderbolts, all moving into 2025 from 2024.
And our next live action MCU show will be the TV show Echo, with all episodes releasing on the 10th of January, 2024.
5 episodes of that show. They recently did the premiere They recently did a screening of the first couple of episodes of the TV show Echo, but all 5 episodes coming out on the 10th of January 2024, and we've just seen the trailer for it last week. Really cool trailer.
Yeah,
very
really
much
good.
Like the Netflix Defenders show, which is where we started out with our Defenders podcast as well, for our Marvel podcasts. So we have a lot of affinity with those Netflix Daredevil and Defenders shows. So very interested to see what they'll do with Echo now.
Yeah. Excellent stuff.
Great stuff. Lots of other stuff. If you want to subscribe to the podcast on tvpodcastindustries.com, you get access to all the other shows that we're covering, things like Gen V, The Boys, Star Wars Ahsoka, and of course, all the Marvel TV shows, including Secret Invasion, Miss Marvel, and WandaVision.
Yeah. And we also covered Good Omens as well, if you like a bit of that as well.
Yeah, something completely different.
Exactly.
Great stuff. Thanks so much for joining us. Talk to you again next time.
Yeah, fellow Defenders, thank you for joining us for the movie podcast and going into the Marvels. Until next time, keep watching, keep listening, and keep defending. Higher, further, faster, baby.
Bye.
Bye.